Hi everyone. In this short tutorial, I'm going to introduce you to InDesign and just going to have a quick look at some of the very important tools that we'll be using over and over again. In particular, the frame tool, the text tool, the selection tool, and the direct selection tool. And we'll just be looking at the differences between those two selection tools and what they do. And we're just going to create a very rough document with some images and words, and basically have a little play and acquaint ourselves with InDesign. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we'll open up InDesign, and this is the welcome page. We're just going to click Create New. Okay, now because we're making something that we eventually intend to print, we're going to go to Print. And it's going to give us some examples. Now, we want an A3 landscape document. So I can't see that here. So I'm going to click View All Presets and select A3. Okay. And once I've done that, I'm going to go over here and just name it. And I'm just going to call it Mockup 1. So it's just a mock-up, or an sort of a experimental document, just to get us to learn, just to get us acquainted with InDesign. And over here, I'm just going to change it to centimeters, just something that that you're familiar with. We just want one page, okay, one page. Don't worry about all of this because we're going to be looking at all of that next time. But I do want you to change the orientation to landscape. Okay, and I don't want facing pages. So just get rid of that. And that's it. And then just click Create. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, so I'm not going to be looking at these palettes today, this tutorial. I'm just going to move them to the side, just click on that. And over here, I'm just going to tell InDesign what sort of screen I want, workspace rather, that I want. I'm just going to go to Essentials just to keep it sort of simple. Okay, and you'll see everything is sort of tucked here nice and neatly on the right. We're not going to look at that now. We're going to look at that later. What I want to look at in this tutorial is this toolbar. Okay, we'll just get rid of that. You can sort of tidy up your palettes by just, when you see that blue line, it means it's joining it together. So just to keep everything nice and neat. So here we have that A3 document. It's given me a border as well, or a margin. Okay, we don't put anything outside of that margin. Every single page, every magazine you look at has a margin around it. And, you want to do the same. So, I've just got today's, can't see today's paper. There you go. There's a magazine, the Good Weekend or Sunday Life, and you can see there's a margin around it. You can actually change the size of that margin, but I wouldn't, because this is eventually going to turn into a folio and you don't want to run out of space because you've got big margins. Okay. So enough about the margins. Just very quickly, if you want to scroll in and out of your page, it's simply Command or Control if you've got a PC, minus or plus, okay? And Command or Control 0 will go back to the default size. Okay, if you want to move your page around, it's the space bar. Okay, so it's all Adobe products use these shortcuts. So if you click on the space bar, you'll get a little hand that lets you move around the document. Okay, now I'm going to talk about 4 tools today. I'm going to talk about the selection tool, okay, when you want to move a main object, the direct selection tool, and I'll talk about the difference between the two, okay. We're going to be using the rectangular frame tool a lot, okay, and also the text tool, okay. So first things first, let's grab this rectangular frame tool and let's draw a frame. I don't care what size frame you want to draw, just anything. We're just having a play. We're just getting acquainted with InDesign. So, you know, this is just a mock-up or an experiment, okay? There's a frame. Now I'm going to put an image in that frame, and this is how we do it. We go File, Place. So whenever we put an image or even text into anything into InDesign, we place it in. We don't insert it, we place, okay? So File, Place. So that's easy enough to remember, File, Place. And I'm just going to go straight to that images folder that I made and I talked about in the previous tutorial. And I'm just going to grab, okay, I'm grabbing an image, okay? And there you go, there's the image. Now, the actual image is bigger than that. It's just placed it into that frame that I made. Now, I may want that to fill the whole frame, or I may want to shrink the frame. There's various ways of sort of editing that image within that frame. Think of this as a photo frame. So you have a photo and it sits behind the frame, okay? And there are bits that you can't see. Sometimes you want to see more and sometimes you don't, however, and with InDesign, you can actually change that. So the next step is you go to Object and you fit it in. So Object Fitting, okay? And there are 3 options. You can fill the frame proportionally, okay, which means basically, you know, you've got your frame and you want to use it all up. So it basically cuts out a lot of the picture. You can also go fit the content proportionally. So it fits the whole image in, but it doesn't fill the frame. And you can also go fit frame to content, which is basically the frame is now sitting around the content, which can be useful if you want to see the whole image. And you can also, there's a 4th option, fit content to frame, or I'll have to go backwards to get that. I can go, so object, fitting, fit content to frame, and it distorts it. Never do that, okay, ever. Okay, so, you know, you can do that. The other option is to use your direct selection tool. So let me just to show you, I'm just going to fit it, fill frame. I'm just going to do that, okay. And I'm going to go to the direct selection tool. And what that does is if I click on the photo, I can now see that the edges come out all the way here. So that is also my that's part of the image and it's sitting behind the frame and I can actually move. So notice that the frame's not moving, but rather the photo, right? Another thing my direct selection tool allows me to do is to select the corners and shrink the image down. So I can also do that as well. If it's the frame I want to move, I just use the direct selection tool, click on the frame, and I can actually stretch it out. Okay, I can actually resize that frame. And with that direct selection tool, I can move that frame with the image in it wherever I like on the page. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to get some text onto your document. The simplest way is to simply go over here to T for text and simply draw a text box and, you know, type stuff in. But a good use of using the text box is if you want to insert a heading. So for instance, I might want to insert design situation, which is one of my subheadings. Okay, and when I use the type tool or the text tool, it gives me characters on the side. So I've got all these options. Up here, I've got my fonts. Okay, so I can change my font. I've got Lato, for instance. I can change the Lato style. Oops. that back on Lato. So when I click Lato, I can click down here and I've got all these options as well. For instance, semi-bold. I should highlight that. All right, semi-bold. Okay, and I can also change the size. Okay, all right, and you know, there's other options that you can also do, but we won't look at those right now. So that's one way to insert text, is to simply type it in by drawing a text box. Now, chances are when you're doing your folio, you've already typed your text on a Word doc. So what we're going to do is insert that. Okay, so that's the other option. So to insert already existing text, we can go to File, Place, right? And, you know, then you will need to go to your folder where that text is. So over here, I've got my text folder and I've got a document with just some random lorem ipsum text. I can click on that, click open. You'll see that what it's done is it's just inserted a text box for me, which then, you know, using my selection tool, I can actually edit that and I can enlarge it. You know, I can change the width, for instance. I can move it around. So that's quite simple, and it gives you a lot of freedom to then play around with the text, get it to align with the image, for instance, make it look neat, perhaps, you know, increase some spacing as well. So that's two ways that you can insert text. Okay, another way you can insert text onto your document, and this is really useful if you've got, say, you've already made a folio and there are images all over it and there are only sections of that folio that you want. You can actually copy and paste text onto your document. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay, so over here I have Anthony's folio and there's images all over it. I don't want those images because already we know that we don't play, we insert images into an InDesign document separately. So I just want to copy and paste some text. So I'm just going to grab the text that I want to copy and paste. I highlight it, I copy it, and then I go back to InDesign and then I can actually paste that in, or right click paste, and it's already pasted it there. So now it's given me quite a little text box. It doesn't all fit in, and I know it doesn't fit in because there's a little plus sign there, so that, you know, if you ever see that, that means that there's a lot more text that's been omitted, and I can just open that and drag it, and I can also shrink it. You know, what happens if you run out of room and not all the text fits in? You can just simply click on that and it will take the remaining text, and then you can draw a new text box and pop it in there. Okay, so there you go. There's 3 ways of inserting text. I think that should keep you busy enough. So give that a go. Insert some text, insert images, play around with the direct selection tool, the selection tool, and of course, the rectangular frame tool as well. Okay, so the last thing you're going to do is save your document. Now, we need to save it in a format that will allow you to continue editing it. So what you need to do is save it as an InDesign file. So we go File, Save As, and I'm just going to call it Mockup 1, and I'm just simply going to save it in my InDesign folder. And I simply, I just checked firstly that I'm saving it as an InDesign document, okay, and click Save. Now, what do I do if I want to export it as a PDF and I want to actually upload it to Canvas, which is what you are going to do with your first mock-up? What you need to do in that case is go File, Export,
and you're going to export it simply as an Adobe PDF print. There are other options you can see, but we're just going to save it as an Adobe PDF print, and we're going to click Save. You can keep it on high quality print and then export. And that's it. Great. Oh, and if you get that, just click OK. It's only a mock-up. Don't worry about that right now. Great. Okay, good luck with that. And don't forget to upload that onto your Canvas assignment. Bye now.